It's 10 p.m. on a Tuesday. I have a 2-hour class with a group of intermediate students in less than 12 hours, and my lesson plan is a completely blank page. The little cursor is blinking at me, like a tiny, rhythmic accusation. This wasn't just writer's block. This was that cold, creeping dread of total teacher burnout. I had nothing. No spark. No idea. Just the crushing weight of having to be on and creative, day after day. If you're a teacher, you know this feeling. It's that pit in your stomach when you think you've finally, officially run out of ideas. When you know you're just going to have to teach that same boring lesson you've taught a dozen times before. That night, I was convinced I was failing my students. And I was failing myself. Section 1, The Breaking Point. This feeling didn't just pop up out of nowhere. For weeks, I'd felt my creativity draining away. My lesson plans were getting repetitive, like photocopies of photocopies. I was leaning on the same old textbook exercises, the same fill-in-the-blanks, the same tired conversation starters. The passion that made me want to teach in the first place. It was being buried under a mountain of planning. That night, staring at that blinking cursor, I hit my breaking point. I was so close to just giving up and phoning it in. I was tired of feeling like a content machine that was one step away from breaking down. Something had to change. I couldn't keep going like this. Section 2, The Myth of Endless Creativity. My first realization was a tough pill to swallow. I had to let go of the myth of endless creativity. I'd always believed that great teachers were like magicians, pulling brilliant ideas out of thin air. I was waiting for a lightning bolt of genius to strike me before every single class. But that's not a career. That's a recipe for exactly the kind of burnout I was feeling. I realized the problem wasn't me. It wasn't a lack of passion or a failure of imagination. The problem was my process or, really, my complete lack of one. Just sitting around waiting for a good idea to show up is incredibly inefficient. It relies on mood, energy, and just plain luck. A professional, I decided, doesn't wait for inspiration. A professional builds a system to generate inspiration. That was the mental shift. I stopped trying to invent fire from scratch every day and instead decided to build myself a fire-starting kit. I needed to move from chaotic brainstorming to systematic variation. The goal was no longer to find one perfect, magical idea, but to create a framework that could generate hundreds of potential ideas. It was about trading artistic agony for intelligent design. Section 3, The 4 Pillars of a Perfect Lesson. So, that night, instead of thinking about a lesson I started thinking about the parts of a lesson. I broke down every English lesson I'd ever taught into its fundamental building blocks. And I ended up with 4 core pillars. This is the heart of the whole system. Pillar 1, the linguistic focus. This is their what. It's the specific grammar or vocabulary you want to teach. Think, present simple, past continuous, phrasal verbs for travel, business idioms. Pillar 2, the context. This is where the language lives. It's the theme that makes the language relevant. Is it a news article about climate change? A scene from a detective movie? A real-life scenario, like ordering food in a restaurant? Pillar 3, the activity type. This is their how. How will students actually use the language? Is it a role play? A formal debate? A creative writing task? A game? Pillar 4, the target level. This is their who. A beginner needs something very different from an advanced learner or a business English student. Once I had these 4 pillars, the problem completely changed. My job was no longer to stare at a blank page and pull a fully-formed lesson out of thin air. My job was to simply choose one item from each of these 4 categories and put them together. And this is where math becomes your best friend. Let's say you quickly list just 5 items for the first 3 pillars and 2 for the last one. 5 grammar points, 5 contexts, 5 activities, and 2 levels. That simple combination gives you 5 by 5 by 5x2, which is 250 unique, potential lesson ideas. 250. Suddenly, generating 30 ideas wasn't just possible, it was basically guaranteed. I didn't need to be a genius, I just needed to be a chef with a well-stocked pantry. CTA. If this idea of systematic planning is already sparking something for you, do me a favor and hit that like button. It's a small click for you, but it lets me know that you want more practical, system-based strategies like this to help fight burnout and make our lives as teachers better. Section 4, The Overnight Workflow, My Step-by-Step Process. Armed with this new philosophy, I got to work. It all happened in 4 phases over the next couple of hours. Phase 1 was the inventory. For about 30 minutes, I did zero creative thinking. I just made lists for each pillar. For grammar, I listed things like present simple, conditionals, modals. For context, I wrote down travel, crime, technology, health. For activities, I put roleplay, debate, storytelling, information gap. And for level, I just put beginner, intermediate, and advanced. That's it. 30 minutes, no pressure, just making my menu of options. Phase 2 was the matrix. This is where it all clicked. I started grabbing one item from each list and combining them. For example, I took present simple from my grammar list, travel from my context list, and roleplay from my activity list for beginner level. The immediate lesson idea? Students roleplay booking a hotel or asking for directions. Simple. Done. Next up, past continuous crime context, creative writing activity, for an intermediate level. The lesson. Students are witnesses to a fictional crime and have to write a statement explaining what they were doing when it happened. Done. I just kept mixing and matching. It felt less like agonizing work and more like a fun puzzle. Phase 3 was their twist technique. After an hour or so, I had a dozen solid ideas. But I wanted to make them really memorable star. So, for any idea that felt a little plain, I added a twist. Format twist Instead of a normal essay, maybe they write a series of text messages, a courtroom transcript, or a movie trailer script. Role twist They aren't just students. They are detectives interrogating a suspect, chefs pitching a new dish, or politicians defending a policy. Medium twist Instead of a textbook, the lesson is built around a real object, a weird gadget, an old photograph, a postcard, a short audio clip. This little trick was the key to turning standard exercises into high-engagement experiences. Finally, phase 4 was sort and systemize. By this point, I had a huge list of over 30 ideas. The final step was to quickly sort them. I made 3 buckets: grammar-focused, vocabulary-focused, and speaking-focused. This gave me a balanced curriculum, not just a random pile of ideas. In a single evening, I went from total panic to having a month's worth of diverse, creative lesson plans ready to go. To show you just how powerful this is, here are some of the ideas I generated that night. For grammar, instead of a boring past simple worksheet, I created The Alibi, a game where students have to create a perfectly synchronized alibi for a fictional crime. For conditionals, I planned a debate called If I Were President, where they propose new laws. For vocabulary, I designed The Board Meeting, a role-play where students negotiate a business deal using specific corporate idioms. And The Emotional Roller Coaster, where students tell a story but have to include phrases like burst into tears or felt a wave of relief. For speaking, things got really fun. I created The Dentist's Waiting Room, where one student has their mouth full and can only mumble, while the dentist has to guess their problem. For creative writing, the prompt was write your own obituary, which could be serious or hilarious. And for problem solving, I outlined a mini escape room where students solve language puzzles to find the next clue. Every single one of these came from that simple 4-pillar system. So, that blank page I was staring at. It wasn't a sign that I was a bad teacher or that my passion was gone. It was an invitation to build a better system. It forced me to stop relying on luck and start relying on a process. The biggest lesson I learned is that creativity in teaching isn't about having some magical, endless supply of ideas. It's about designing a system that generates those ideas for you. This framework didn't just save me that night, it transformed my entire approach to lesson planning. It turned one of the most stressful parts of my job into one of the most enjoyable. It gave me my evenings back, and more importantly, it gave me my passion back. The goal isn't just to survive as a teacher, it's to thrive. And for me, that started by trading the terror of the blank page for the power of a blueprint. I've taken some of the best lesson ideas from this system and turned them into ready-to-use worksheets and activity guides for my patrons. If you want to grab those, get a head start on your own planning, and support the channel, the link to my Patreon is in the description. And please, leave a comment. What is your single biggest struggle when it comes to lesson planning? I read every single one, and I'd love to know what challenges we're all facing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.